is also absent, but we do have here before us Jane Meisenbach, Marge Webster Warren, and Dave Zanamorowski, and that is a quorum, so we would like to move forward with this meeting. And the meeting is being live streamed out on YouTube. It's also available by hybrid, by remote participation on Zoom. And that link and the meeting ID and passcodes available on the town's agenda and on the calendar on the town's website. So this committee is calling the meeting to order, and adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second?
So all in favor? And then we have a number of budget items for the committee to review, starting with, there will be some flipping back and forth within your budget books, but wanted to group the items together that Katie Neal will be here to present. And so starting with 1226, town landings. Again, we'll have it up on the TV. Difficult to see perhaps here, but you all have those papers in front of you, but the viewers at home can see what we're reviewing. So Katie, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, and I just want to say a couple of things. So Christy Ayana, Town Administrator, we talked early on in the budget about what some of the changes were, and this was one that I brought to the committee's attention. We're really trying to focus on taking better care of our town lands, managing them properly, moving it into the recreation area. So the director, who is Katie Neal, will be more of a parks and rec and community services director. So that's the direction we're going. You'll see more monitoring in this budget, and we have moved it essentially from the harbor master's budget. We've kind of been going back and forth with some of this monitoring, but in the 2026 budget, you'll see it primarily in the town landings account, and then there is some in the Mitchell Field account. Again, we're moving toward kind of having all of these properties, town lands, fall under the kind of parks and rec department that you might see in other communities. So,
Christy, does that mean that in the future you're going to consolidate the presentation so that Katie can speak to this all as a block?
most likely that, I see 2026 as a transition year.
Okay,
Because
perfect.
we want to show people how we're moving, but that's ultimately where we want to get. Yeah.
Thanks.
Is it working?
Good evening. I'm Katie Neal, the Recreation Director. And did you want me to go through this line by line, or do you have questions? How would you like me to move forward?
I think line by line would be great, but if it's inconsequential, just, move right through it and
Great.
spend your time on the bigger items.
Great. So looking at town lands, the first line is wages for a part-time employee. And you will see a line item in the Mitchell Field budget as well that correlates to a $22 an hour average of 20-hour a week year-round position that we would be hoping to staff in 2026 to assist with monitoring. We would also hope that this person would help at Cedar Beach with some of our monitoring efforts over there.
Katie, does that include overhead, so benefits?
The
No.
benefits are in another
Category.
area of the budget.
Okay,
This is strictly a wage amount.
okay. Is that something that in the future would make sense to aggregate under those specific areas? You hire somebody, part of the expense is wages, but the other part of the expense is benefits, though they come together.
We don't really think so. We think the benefits, it's a general overhead, it's administration. And so we've always, and that's how we see other municipalities do it too, and not by department. I think that would be far more difficult, and you wouldn't get the whole impact of your benefits all at once when you see that. But
I think however you guys decide to do it is fine, but you obviously recognize that when you hire a new person, you're not just paying wages, you're paying the entire
Correct.
benefits package,
Right.
so that when I see 14.3 in here, in a way, yes, your benefits page is correct, but it understates the impact on the town lands budget of what the actual cost is of town's lands management.
And that's why when we do review of fees and everything, that's why we pull all these different cost centers together to come up with that. So at that point, like if you're reviewing, if a fee starts getting collected at one of the lands, we would pull in their benefits and factor at that point. Absolutely, for fee reviews, of course.
So
And we,
you were going to suggest to us a factor. Would you say that the wages represent 50% of total compensation, or?
Probably more.
the last time I ran it, I think our benefit factor was 32.
Okay, so 32, on average, 32% of the expense of a new employee is in benefits.
Now, sometimes it depends if they take family health
Right.
care.
Right,
or
no, I
single
got
healthcare.
it.
So
Fine.
it gets really dicey, but we
Right.
use a certain percentage. yeah.
Okay,
But I
thank
think it's
you.
a fair point.
Doesn't
You're
the
right.
select
This
board
is the
kinda
first
skew
time
that
that this
too,
position
looking
is
at
being
salaries
presented
so small
as it
and
will be
benefits?
year-round, part-time with benefits.
Yeah,
So there's some in the Mitchell Field budget because we're
So
losing
the
someone
number
who's
is
done
probably
pro
even a little
bono
lower than
monitoring for the
32 if
town.
you took
And then
a
there's
third
some
of it, right?
here, and
I'm
then the
just trying to-
benefits are
Yeah.
carried in another part of the budget.
would it, just harebrained idea, I mean, you're going to pay benefits anyway, so leverage the payment that you're going to make by hiring somebody for 100% of their time, right? You're not going to pay any more in benefits, so you're going to get sort of a bargain for their remaining
We might
18 hours
head
a
in
week.
that direction.
Yeah.
I don't think we're starting with the full-time proposal. But
Got it.
again,
Right.
I understand the point
Okay.
you're making.
If you don't need it, we don't want to pay somebody extra time if
Oh,
you
no,
don't need it.
I'm not I would never, believe me, I would never suggest you doing that. That is not within the DNA. But having said that, we always seem to be, just getting there in terms of resources, and the net direction is to add. So that was just an innocuous comment. It's not a management suggestion, just an observation.
Great.
Sorry, Katie.
No, you're perfect. I think that I'm excited for this position. When I came on in January, I stepped into the role of being the staff liaison for the Lands Committee and the Mitchell Field Committee, and supporting the management of Cedar Beach. And I've really seen a need for increased monitoring on our properties, and have really loved that work. So I'm excited for this person to help. I have also, this used to be just one line, the repairs and maintenance, and I broke it out into the sections that are similar to the Mitchell Field budget, just so we could be looking at the same things as we're looking across budgets. So we're talking about just the regular mowing that happens across the properties. Trash and dog stations are something that happen at a few of our lands and landings. This landing maintenance and upkeep, we're talking about doing a project at Hildreth Road, the parking. I've also, Cliff Trail used to be under the Recreation Committee and not part of the town lands budget. And since, one, I'm looking at both of them, and I'm the same director, it felt like it made more sense to move those costs and expenses over to the town lands budget. Lands and trail maintenance, those are things like trail signs, any sort of blazes or projects, bog bridging projects that we might need to do on our different trails. And then new projects, we have a line item for Clark Cove, which would be should things pass and move forward in March. This would be initial sort of startup costs for taking on the stewardship of that property.
Katie, what would that consist of, roughly?
Yeah, I'm hoping, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm imagining it's sort of a light touch in this first year, which wouldn't necessarily be a formal parking lot in this first year. It would be creating a path. There's a sort of bridge over a stream that needs to be repaired, so doing some bridge work there. And then there are some stone steps down to the beach that we would want to do some minor improvement with. a lot of the work is done by volunteers, so it's really cost of materials. And then I want to make sure that we have boundary markers and signs protecting the private property and keeping folks off the private property.
And have you signed up Don Miskell to be a steward for this?
I've happily welcomed him. Picnic tables and toilets. Toilets haven't necessarily been called out in our town lands budget, but they're sort of becoming an essential thing as Harpswell properties are getting more love. And then signage. I spend much of my time making signs for our town lands. I would like to update the maps at Devil's Back. And then with all the changes down at Mitchell Field, I'm imagining updating the maps down at Mitchell Field.
Do you know what, offhand, what the budget is for toilets down at Mitchell Field? It's a meaningful number, right?
It is. I don't know off the hand, but I have it right here. 3,600.
Okay, so this essentially is replicating that idea across various town lands? Question mark.
Yes. So we already pay for a porta potty at the Cliff Trail, which used to be under the rec department budget. Bethel Point, Mitchell Field, which is listed somewhere else. We had one at Lookout Point this year because that became a hot spot, and the local businesses there requested that we have our own.
Nicely put.
Yes. We have another one at Trufant Field, but that is in the rec budget.
And do we use the same vendor for all of these?
Yes, Dirigo.
Beautiful.
And they do a wonderful job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? Great.
Next up, Cedar Beach.
Next up, Cedar Beach. So this is another property that could potentially be consolidated under the town lands, but it's called out just due to the agreement that we have. We pay seasonal monitors to help support our agreement. And you'll see a lower cost in the budget for this year because I'm actually hoping that the monitor takes a larger role. I spent much of my summer down there this past summer just making sure, again, as I said, as Harpswell is getting increased love, that we are maintaining positive relationships with those neighbors. So I think it's helpful for me to have a year-round staff person being a liaison down there on a regular basis. Repairs and maintenance, signs.
Yep.
You can never have enough signs.
Never enough signs. And other things, that it's an exposed property. There are things that need to be repaired, so we're being good neighbors. And then supplies, we provide all of our monitors with shirts and hats so they're easily identified. Any questions?
No benefits
Great.
with those positions either, just to point
Right,
that out.
yeah. Correct.
So 6420 would be next.
60. Yep.
Sorry.
Great. So this is the recreation department and not the programs. The programs we break out separately. The first two lines are wages and salaries. There's a 20-hour-a-week, year-round staff member who is integral to doing the programming. specifically the youth programming, and I'm excited to continue to have her support. We use a service called MyRec for folks to sign up for our programs. We go to a conference with the other Parks and Rec directors, which is a great opportunity for us to learn new things and network with our peers. We give out all of our volunteer coaches, sweatshirts and hats to say thank you because they do so much for us. Supplies or printing. We have seasonal story walks out on the Cliff Trail, and then I did the history walk at Mitchell Field this year, which came from my rec budget. And we are planning on reprinting the Harpswell guide this year. We are in the process of updating it and revamping it with support from our communications staff member. So excited to get that out in 2026. Recreation events, we do 3 seasonal events a year that are free for the community. There's one in February that's typically like a hot chocolate, sledding, snowshoeing, snow wheeling. We did a kite flying event down at Mitchell Field, which was so lovely. And then we do a fall one, carve and craft, which the Harpswell Santa Fund helped sponsor this year.
Nice.
I started a hiking passport program with the Land Trust. You might have seen that around on the trails. And then though the trail maintenance has been taken to the land's budget, activities that we do on the trails comes from the rec budget. So we have the annual hiking challenge in June, and that's a big event that we get a lot of attention for. And so those are some supplies for the hiking challenge. Any questions?
How do you, this may be not a strict budget question, but you've got a challenge with 3 separate peninsulas. So how do you think about how you allocate your resources across the whole community?
Yeah, that's a good question that I'm not sure that I've fully tackled.
That's fine. 'Cause
No, I partner with both libraries. So partner with the Cundy's Library and the Orr's Library. The librarians there are so wonderful to collaborate with. All of our stuff for kids happens at True-Fonter, the elementary school. I'm doing a cribbage club at the Cundy's Harbor Community Hall starting next week. And then a lot of things happen at Mitchell Field because that's obviously a large space for us to gather. So when I'm planning programming, it's trying to be intentional about spreading out where we're holding them.
That's great.
So your next tab are the programs.
Yes. So these are the programs that we, some of the programs that we do throughout the year with a line item down at the bottom for new programs. So fun things that we come up with. True Font is at the top. That includes the porta potty at True Font, as well as other maintenance, mowing the field, those kinds of things. The rest are programs that we offer for children in the community: baseball, basketball, cross country, which is the Harriers, skiing, which we are accepting registration now. Folks should sign up at Lost Valley. Soccer, and then adding some line items for some music and arts so that we can offer some free programming for folks in the community related to music and art. And then Family Swim, we used to hold Family Swim is our fall, winter, and then winter, spring free swimming opportunity at Boat and Pool on Sundays. Summer swim, we used to hold swim lessons every summer, and we're hoping to start that back up with the help of Don Miskell. And then yoga, we offer yoga classes to folks at the town office and then down at Mitchell Field.
I'm fine. You fine, David?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah.
So now 9400 Mitchell Field.
Moving along.
You're just cruising.
I love it. This is the Mitchell Field budget. And we call that out. Again, eventually it could be moved under lands, as we're thinking about the management of the property. Don Miskell plays a large role in the creation of the budget, as well as the Mitchell Field Committee in general. Things to note are the $9,000 at the bottom for monitoring. We have been so lucky to have Don volunteer his time and energy, and I think it will be great to have someone work alongside him and learn from him and give him some time to transition to do other things. Like my summer swim program.
No greed
Or
there.
monitoring at Cedar Beach.
Katie, I'm looking at the repair and maintenance line,
Yeah.
the 25 budget, and then there's a fair amount of that that's unexpended,
Yeah.
and then you show a decrease for the 26 request. Could you just explain the dynamic there?
In December, we take down the admin building.
So,
I read the
Yeah.
footnotes. It wasn't clear to me how that was
well,
working.
I think Don had budgeted to have the property sprayed for round-tail moth, which he ultimately didn't end up doing. And based on feedback from whomever I can't remember who he was
Weltree, maybe?
Weltree, that it wasn't necessarily worth spending the money on. And I think you guys ended up attacking it in a different way. So that was $4,000 that had been
Okay, so
allocated for that.
that's substantially the difference.
And there's several expenses that have gone through in November.
Yep.
These expenses are as of 10/31. So mowing of the entire field has since then been paid. And so the unexpended is far less at this time, but Dawn did acknowledge there were some projects not completed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then the rest is pretty standard Mitchell Field budget with some things in the air to talk about with the future of Mitchell Field.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, I mean, this isn't a year of transition. The boat launch will be opening.
Yeah.
We're going to try to see how much monitoring the facility needs and keep an eye on that. So it's hard to know where that's all going in the future.
Absolutely,
But it's something we'll be watching
What's
closely.
Yeah, that made me think of you talking about the year-round staff being full-time, half-time, and I think there's no way to know what the impact of Don stepping away will be. And like Christy mentioned with the boat launch, what kind of monitoring we need down there, and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, Don commands a volunteer army down there
He sure
Amazing.
does.
Yeah.
there will be some attrition from that army when Don leaves. And so I think you can reasonably anticipate the maintenance budget going up for the field, for all the work that, especially on the South Road, it's perimeter road that he does.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the town's lands and merging it, but with the transition that's happening at Mitchell Field, I'm not sure that 2026 is the year that should be. I think we need a year under our belt to
Agreed.
see with
Yeah.
all that's going on there.
Agreed.
Because
100%.
it may be better to be a standalone.
Agreed. I agree. I think
I love the fact of all the others going together because it just makes more
Yep.
sense to me
Yeah.
in my brain. Well, it's all in one place.
Yes, now that it's all in one place, I agree, and I think, to your point, 2026 is not the year to make big changes or
Not
decisions
with
for
Mitchell
Mitchell
Field, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, part of what I think is a really wonderful benefit of putting all of this under Katie is that the resources that are used to supply all of these different parcels can be managed
not,
as
Not divided.
as a group, right? And so she has the the possibility of managing things more efficiently as a whole than she does it, or somebody did it as 6 individual pieces. So
Right.
pulling some manpower or woman power from here to fill in there, I think that's a great idea. I love I think that this is a long time coming. I know you guys have worked on this, but it's really great.
Sometimes change is good.
To take it to the next step.
Yeah.
sometimes change is very good.
Okay. Any other questions for Katie?
She's off the hook.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
She did a
you.
great job, by the way.
Yep, terrific job.
Thank you, Katie.
So we're going to move on to account number 1,200. Town facilities, primarily the town office in this account. I will say, I have a proposed change today. Mackin will have to watch this because he's the replay of this meeting, because he will be very interested in our kilowatt data that I may have for you this fine day.
His favorite subject.
So, in reviewing this budget, you'll see that we contract, I won't go down through the details, this is the same budget that you all have seen. I will say that when it comes to the electricity, this committee may recall that its recommendation last year, we had wanted to hire a consultant to get to the bottom of, is the Nautilus solar farm agreement that we've entered into for credits the best one? I will, and then the Energy and Technology Committee wanted a part 2 to hire a solar consultant to investigate the different renewable energy sources and what's best for the town's next step in that area. The town did hire a consultant at no cost, because this consultant is paid by the electrical, by the solar farms and the electrical companies. But he did a very thorough review of our current contracts, current solar farm contracts, and suggested a number of changes. And you'll also notice, I want to point out, in the theme of merging some of these smaller single accounts, you'll see that streetlights are now in this account under town facilities, instead of being by itself the way that it used to be for $6,000 its own budget. So I'll address our electrical things all together right here. So with the help of Jeff Sparrow from Sparrow Energy Group, he reviewed our current contracts. He made several recommendations to reallocate the Nautilus accounts that we had all to just the town office account. There was a large enough, in Jeff's words, this account has ample capacity to accept all of the credits from the Nautilus subscription with 25% headroom, which is more than enough to ensure no credits are lost. Currently, they were spread amongst six accounts. So he's already achieved no penalty with Nautilus to reallocate all of those solar credits just to the town office account. Hasn't taken effect yet because there is this delay, but it has been negotiated. And so all of that is going to our town office account.
Terry, can you give us a sense of the magnitude of the change that's likely to introduce in the electric bill?
I'm happy to send you
Oh, I was afraid you were going to say
a
that.
very detailed presentation that Jeff Sparrow made. It will answer all of your questions about that. The board saw this. He made a presentation to the Energy and Technology And I thought you had been invited to that one,
I
Dave. You
was. I
did not
couldn't-
see.
I couldn't make that meeting. I
Got
talked to
it.
Howard briefly. I think I'll pass on that, and I'll ask Howard when I see him down at the store.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's great detail, and so that was recommendation number one. Recommendation number two was to subscribe 4 small CMP accounts to a fixed kilowatt, to receive a kilowatt credit from NextAmp Solar Farm. And so the board recently entered a NextAmp contract for the recycling center building, the emergency medical services, currently just one building, the Mitchell Field Tower, and I can't read my own writing on that one, and another small account. And so they've entered that credit account with NextAmp. Again, he has all sorts of data about the savings. And I really am happy to send that for FYI, if any of you would like to see that. And then he actually made 4 recommendations, but his third recommendation was to enroll the town office account and the town streetlight account into competitive electricity fixed rate supply contracts. Again, the board's recently approved that. The select board approved a 4-year contract with First Point at a fixed kilowatt rate of 0.12241 for the next 4 years. And so I give you all this introduction because it was great information, and he laid out the savings. With that said, I had asked him to take a review for the town office, the recycling, and the streetlight accounts as to the direct savings. So, because I had to put this budget together prior to getting that data from Mr. Sparrow, you will see that the $18,000 budget that I put in for the town office facility needs to be increased to $20,000. And while you're going to say, what, an increase after hearing about the savings? Electricity, generally speaking, is going up. The standard offer was tremendously going up. And so I do need to have that increased by $2,000 to $20,000. But that's the only change in there. The streetlights would be covered by the $6,000 that was budgeted, and the recycling center budget would also be covered based on his review on what we had budgeted in that line as well. So,
Terry, did we have a full year of operation last year of the heat pumps, or was that just a partial year?
it actually did start in January,
Okay.
so it's almost a full year.
Okay, so this is apples to apples in terms of infrastructure that's consuming electricity?
Yes, yes. The only thing that isn't, to your question of unexpended, I will tell you, I don't know if any of you have been here in the daylight, but I'm pleased when some of my projects get check marks next to them, and one is a new 1,000-pound, they call it gallons now, propane tank. We had just a 350, and so I happened to have been here in January one day on the weekend when the power had gone out, and they were still here working, and it was not enough. Our generator cannot run the heat pumps. And so we brainstormed and asked them to program it so that when the power goes out, the town of Harpswell wants to be a warming center. You can't do that if your heat's not running. So they did do a program that when the power goes out, it reverts fully to the propane boiler. And we had run out in January when we had lost power. So we've more than doubled the size of that tank. And while you're seeing a large unexpended number of $4,000, that was just filled and will be no longer unexpended. So, this is the budget as it is. I really wanted to point out the combination of streetlights into this budget, the current propane updated situation, and our review of Mr. Sparrow's very helpful review that directed the select board into some decision-making. And other than that, you will see an increase in the repair and maintenance line. I did add, you will notice when you're in this building now, the stairwell doors. We had a insurance work audit, and was determined that those doors needed to remain shut as fire doors. I really want to add handicap buttons that would open those doors, as the public meeting space is beyond those doors, the restrooms are beyond those doors. Right now, staff members are very happy to help, not always available to see, and we just don't want anybody to have any barriers. So I did add some funding in that line to make those doors handicap accessible.
And is that substantially all of that increase in the
Yes.
repair and maintenance line?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there was, now that we are back up onto the new system, we have a maintenance agreement, so I did increase the HVAC support and supply primarily for our maintenance agreements. There should not be any large, knock on wood, needed repairs, but that does cover our maintenance agreement. And that's the highlights, unless you have any specific questions.
The size of the propane tank that you put in, you went from 300 to, I missed that.
1,000.
That makes sense. And you're satisfied that all your credits that you were searching for last year, electrical, you are receiving, or did receive? or-
We've always been receiving them. We did just lose a large chunk because they would not let the town themselves reallocate it from one account to another account. We would contact them, they'd say, contact CMP, CMP would say, and Mr. Sparrow, having been through this several times, threw me a dog bone and said, that's not unheard of, because I was quite miffed as to his power and his ability, but yet the town couldn't do that. But he definitely had inner workings of these systems and was able to successfully get it all changed to the town office. So we will no longer be losing credits. We will never get that one back. But he also did say the law, they've made it so you don't lose credit. There's also a change in the law, but it just made sense to move it all to the town office, and so that's what the select board agreed to.
Which is back up for making sense to moving all your town lands into one other place, where everything is in one place, and it's cleaner, and everybody can see what's going on under one system.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's,
Congratulations on that. I know
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
a
a fight.
vexing project.
We were glad to get the solar piece done before you started your budget season. We were like, uh-oh.
and just by last update on that, Howie Marshall, the chair of the Energy and Technology Committee, came to the select board at last week's meeting and said that they have put on hold part 2 of this board's recommendation was to, first sort this out, and then, but the Energy and Technology Committee has put that on hold. So there's no use of resilience and sustainability funds for this particular purpose this year. So 1205, you'll see that we've renamed that. It's not just the Emergency Services Building. Voters approved a $6 million borrowing for the new Central Emergency Services Building. And so this would be operations for those 2 buildings. The biggest thing that you see that was added was a miscellaneous Central Emergency Services Building operations of $10,000. We have spoken with the architect, and there may be some cost comes up, as even though it won't be ready to be moved into until 2027, there were some miscellaneous things that we wanted to be budget-wise and not budget foolish about, so we did add a small budget for those miscellaneous expenses that may come up in 2026.
Terry, the infrastructure of the town continues to expand. At what point do you have to hire somebody to just oversee that expanding infrastructure? A lot of different buildings, expensive buildings, town ran.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Terry.
we've kind of had some very preliminary conversations about a facilities director. We don't think we're there yet, but that
Yeah.
is another area where I think you could see that in the future. Kind of waiting to see how the Mitchell Field project goes, the Emergency Services Central Building, another big piece of infrastructure that the town will be responsible for maintaining. So, yeah, this idea of a facilities director, somebody to really look out for the buildings and the maintenance costs and any sort of capital repairs, that could be coming.
And maybe road maintenance. I mean,
Yeah,
Field maintenance, who knows, good.
yeah.
Well, the building and capital, I think, makes sense because there's only so many people now, and there's a piece here, and there's a piece here, and there's a lot of them, and they're spread out. So if one person had it all, like you've just done with the recreational and town lands, I think it's very smart. Financially smart.
Anytime you add personnel,
There's a
you
cost.
do add
And there's
additional
32%.
costs. So, we try to be aware of what the town's needs are and to introduce these things at the appropriate time.
But
Yeah,
also, you can look at it as savings if it's done right and maintained right. You're actually going to be saving, something isn't destroyed before you have to put 500,000 in it. You've paid somebody who's caught it when it only cost you 25,000, so.
so the next one is 1210, the Old Townhouse. Christie and I are very pleased to state that, as you've seen going by, the painting's been accomplished, the roof has been accomplished, and come the end of this year, the stone cleanings will all have been completed as well. And so that facility is looking really good. We're very proud of that facility and happy that that has come full circle. So you will see that decrease because we did have that extra $15,000 in there in 2025 to finalize the cemetery stone cleaning.
Terry, what frequency is associated with the stone cleaning?
Well, Christie will say that we've been told many, many times you don't want to do it too often because it can start affecting the etching of the writing. And so,
yeah, it can be abrasive if you're not careful, if you don't use the right cleaners.
You know when we done it last by chance?
It's been a long time. I do think we used a different product before, so we're being more careful with the product we're using this time.
Well, I just wondered how long we were able to go.
at
before
least
we had to
20
put-
years.
Yeah.
It's at
yeah,
least been
yeah,
20
yeah,
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
good for,
yeah.
Long time.
But the stones also need repair. They crack, they break, they need to be put back together. I mean, it's a very ancient cemetery, and we're trying to take good care of it, and it does need constant attention outside of the cleaning of the stones. Yeah, we've got tree limbs that are about to fall. It's just
Yep.
always something. Yeah, yeah.
And the paint was probably duration paint, or I don't know what kind they use, but it was a long enduring paint job.
I don't.
Was it Ken?
That's
It was.
Ken Beebe
Yeah.
painted. Well, his company
I
painted
probably
it.
used duration.
Yeah,
But it will need to be repainted down the road. It doesn't last forever. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, just another building that needs to be
Right.
maintained,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that one has very specific, unique qualities. You
Yeah.
have to be careful, who you bring in. And the interior at some point, I don't know what people will want to do with that, if anything,
It's on the National Registry,
Yeah.
so.
That makes it costly to maintain, because it has to be all done by certain specs.
Who's,
But it's-
who's the point person on that?
So the town has an agreement with the Historical Society, kind of a longstanding
Yeah.
agreement.
Who-
that
who-
they're-
Who is the,
It's been Dave Hackett has been the point person, so, he keeps the town informed about any requests he's had for use. There are some annual things that happen there. I think the Kellogg Church has an annual service in the building. Harpswell Heritage Days, they often use the building to kind of show some different activities.
I may be mistaken, but hasn't Chuck Alexander taken a bigger role
Yes,
at the
he's the
Historical
new
Society?
president.
Okay, so will he be the point person going forward?
Well, we're going to be talking about that, yeah.
Okay, so the next one is 1,300, which is risk management. Again, we briefly touched on this last week. We know January through June costs of 2026, because our insurance goes from July 1 to June 26, June 30th, 2026. And, there's, somebody made a reference to a magic ball earlier, a crystal ball, and so I just applied a 15% increase, and it's half of that. That becomes part of the 2026 budget. Did do a small increase in workers' compensation, and the rest is,
Just like you to notice that public official liability went down when you.
Can we attribute all of that to the present company?
Don't jinx us.
I
Do you think workers' comp has been such a rocket ship for the last decade or more? Do you think that's conservative enough, the 5,000 increase, or it's as good as any?
Well, it depends on our claims, and so sometimes we find ourselves in that situation where we've created a history and we end up having to pay some additional costs for that.
so we don't get our mod until, after this whole year is done, and we have had some claims. So it may not be.
Yeah. I can't remember. Is our claim history good, bad, indifferent?
There's been some big cases,
Yeah.
but in the last, is it 3 or 5 years that they do that over? We've been fairly clean over the last cyclings.
Cycle. And in the aggregate, has our insurable interest changed, meaning the base to which the insurance is being applied?
We have, our payroll is higher, so that increases the rate.
Yeah.
I will say there are a couple risky areas in municipal government. The town office is not a risky area. We're in here, we're mostly sitting at our desks, we might trip or something like that. The transfer station has been an area, and firefighting has been an area. And consequently, we typically pay higher for those positions, the way it's structured. The rates depend on the risk of the position.
Yep.
So the more firefighters we add, the more our rate goes up. Those are all kind of
Okay.
things that impact that final number.
And properties that we're insuring haven't changed
They
meaningfully in the
haven't,
last
but
year?
that's something we'll keep an eye on. We have an umbrella package, so if there's a building that may not be quite up to the rate it should be,
Yeah.
the whole umbrella covers that specific building.
So with the new fire building, I assume we're going to anticipate a meaningful increase in property premiums?
We'll be talking with our insurance company about that in the coming year. Yeah.
Would that new parks monitor position have minimal, or what kind of effect would that have on workers' comp, do you think? Where it's just add somebody to that pool that Dave was
I don't
talking about?
think a
I don't know.
monitor per se, but,
It's a lower class, I can
If
tell you
you're-
that.
Yeah, okay.
if you're
So it's
operating a
minimal
boat,
then.
yeah, if you're operating a boat, that tends to be higher. I mean, just think about risky activities,
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Happiness. Almost.
so if we keep people in an office, the risk level is down, but you can't always, you need some people out there.
I'm just curious, how many boats do we have?
We have two. We have
It's the
the
airboat
airboat,
and
and we have a
the
harbor
General
master
Marine.
boat.
Center console.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 11, 12 grand, Matt, that strike you as a reasonable kind of premium for insuring those two boats?
The
Yep.
boats can be high.
Yeah, I have one boat and I pay over half of that, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we have seen the boat rates go up.
Yeah, boat rates in the last,
Have been-
I'd say, probably 2 years have just taken right off.
They have, that has been an area of great increase.
It's because a lot of boats got sold during COVID. They had record boat sales, so then when you
Lot of
sell
new
more
boaters.
boats, you have more boat accidents, just because there's more out there, and then
Yeah.
that increases your insurance
Yep,
on all of it.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, next is 1310, employee benefits. Again, I put this together obviously in October or early November, and it's open enrollment, November 15th through December 15th. So I do have to make an increase to this budget as well. I have to increase this by $26,231.
Which line in particular?
Do you just want to?
Health insurance.
Health insurance.
I wondered why it went down as much as it did. I wondered why it went down at all.
Well, it went down because we had a number of new employees replace certain positions that were previously covered and were not covered
Oh, okay.
by their choice. They may have had it offered through a spouse, absolutely. So it's not because our offering went down, it's because our takers went down.
Oh, okay, that
Got
makes
it.
And so now during open enrollment, there is one that is going to make the change that I need to add on to this.
And there's
So-
no meaningful change in the underlying programs?
No.
In this, okay.
No,
But rates
no, we
went up.
have more eligible benefited employees,
Employees.
but less that are taking the group health insurance.
What did our health insurance rate go up?
Our health insurance rate went up by 9%.
Yeah,
By 9%.
yeah, I thought so.
And so I'll just quickly review down over the sheet and I'll show you where that change is. So we estimate our 2026 payroll to apply our Social Security and Medicare taxes. We have one employee grandfathered on the main public employees retirement system. And that's the payment for that one employee. And then all the rest of our employees that choose to enroll in a deferred 457, that would be the cost under the Mission Square plan of $67,000. And then we get to health insurance, which of course is the largest part of the benefit package. And the family is moving from 5 current to 1 anticipated. So that changes to $157,390. And then the new insurance cost is $432,626, which then brings our total projected to $648,071.
That comp survey that we're participating in, is that a fully burdened per employee cost type
Comp-
of survey, or is it just,
Oh, our compensation?
Yeah.
plan?
you talked about that last time?
It's reviewing benefits, yes.
Yeah. Is that just benefits, or is that wages and
It's
benefits?
wage,
I'm sorry.
salary, and benefits.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yep, no
understand
problem.
the question.
Do you have any questions on that?
The health insurance, do we have a high experience factor for the year? High, well, I mean, your insurance on group insurances like this, what will generally increase it if you've had 2 open heart surgeries and
Oh,
that will, your
we're in a
experience-
really large pool. We're in the Maine Municipal Association pool, so it's
so-
not as dependent on our particular staff.
Okay.
It's a much bigger,
Okay. Yeah, 'cause
Cool.
And we don't get advised on
Yeah,
that
You
detail.
don't get advised on whether.
which could be good or bad.
That's what most of the towns in the state go through.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
They said that all but 4.
Oh, really?
I
That
don't know
many?
what the 4 were.
Wow,
I've always
What they're
wondered
doing.
that.
Wow.
that's interesting.
So if you wouldn't mind going to 3115 at this time, the 2 harbor master related budgets, we can do that next. 3115 is marine consultant. And this is going to make its way to be merged in somewhere else too, by the
Yeah,
way, but
That's good.
baby steps.
So we'll have it next year, right?
Yes. Next year, I would like it under 3110. But anyways, so this started, typically at the time for its own budget, it was much larger when the town would contract out for very large projects. And then our harbor master would apply for some grants, but then all the rules with the diggers changed. The clam diggers, they required certain meetings and certain conservation times. And the group conservation projects got smaller and smaller with with life commitments and other commitments of having to attend certain number of meetings and do some conservation days. And so they used to plant some seeds, clam seed. And so the harbor master the prior harbor master and the current interim harbor master just felt they still want to keep some money in there for some conservation needs that may arise, but there's no specific planned project at this very moment.
Was that what the 836.90 was spent on, was conservation stuff this year?
It had to have been, and I can, I saw that detail, and I can't remember what it was for at this
I was
point,
just
Matt.
curious.
Now,
All right, no,
But I will
excuse me.
definitely find
It might
that.
have been
No.
for some supplies,
Christmas
but I
question.
don't recall.
Yeah, I cannot recall it. It was early. Expense. Ooh. I
Harbor
asked you all
master.
to move, and then I did not move this.
So this is the placeholder for an unexpected whatever. Yep.
Right.
Got it.
Hopefully it'll be under this one, the next one next year.
So now 3,400, the harbor master budget. As Christie reviewed the overview at last week's meeting, you know that our current harbor master has moved on, and we have an interim harbor master. And both the prior harbor master and the current harbor master has taken a look at this. You'll see a little bit of shifting from the increases. There was a decrease in wages part-time because the monitor was budgeted last year under harbor master. But you have seen that whole shift forward to move it into Parks and Recreation. That's that significant decrease there. You'll see a $19,000 increase under contracted services. The current interim harbor master would like to, the deputy harbor masters were doing some things that were better perhaps handled through contractors as opposed, talk about our risk management, hauling up unused moorings. That is quite a feat for staff members, and this harbor master, interim harbor master, would like to use contractors for that. And in the long run, while I say the monitor was moved over to Parks and Rec, this year it was really 2 deputies were really paid out of this line in the harbor master, and the interim harbor master believes with the addition of the contracted services that only 1 deputy harbor master will be needed next year. And so that's the significant change within this budget.
How did they haul moorings?
The
by
town bought a
themselves?
mooring hauler.
Did they
float.
really, a barge with a crane on it?
We did,
Not real.
we
It's a
did,
boat.
but it's a hefty task.
That's-
So what are
I'm
we gonna
surprised
be
they didn't
doing
contract
with
it,
that if we're not gonna use it?
It's a good question. There's lots of things. Again, we're finding ourselves in a lot of transition years, and so this will be a transition year between the interim harbor master, the permanent harbor master, and how things go with the contracted services.
So can they sell that and recover any of the purchase price on that barge?
If that's
Potentially.
the ultimate decision, potentially.
Okay.
And that concludes.
We're not going to store it at the administration building.
This is a good thing.
You can store it on my mooring.
This is how things
Think we're
end up
installing-
in
Aren't we storing
storage.
it up by the salt shed?
Where is it? I've never actually even
Up
seen
at the
it.
transfer station.
Is that,
It is.
Just behind the big,
Alright.
equipment shed.
Yep, I'll have to look.
So I don't know if, I have a couple of questions. I have some miscellaneous things to report back to the committee. I wonder if you want to forego the consensus part of this agenda for more of a full committee at the next meeting. And we did add a December 11th, so I think your schedule would be okay if you wanted to pass over item 4. But this is up to this committee if you want to go through it,
I
or,
think it makes sense. Let everybody vote on it. It's not gonna take long, 5
Yeah,
minutes,
it's not
right?
gonna
Yeah.
take long.
Yeah.
In fact, I looked through it, it's all,
Yeah, why don't we defer and do that at the next
Okay,
meeting?
okay.
We could do this meetings and next meetings.
okay. So then really, the minutes and then I would like an approval of the minutes.
Can I go
And
back to one thing? Sorry. Back on Harbor Master, I know I should have asked it then. We're in search for Harbor Master, are we?
We have not advertised at this point, but
Okay.
I think the intention is to do that and wait until the spring when it, just,
So interim is
timing.
truly interim,
yeah.
That's totally interim.
The
unlikely to
interim,
become permanent, or?
I think
They're not going to comment
the
on that.
plan is to put it out to bid and the interim can, apply.
Can apply.
Got
My only comment on that is please make the salary adequate to attract the right person so we can keep them.
Well, we're
That's
looking
part
at
of the
that
wage and
position
salary
with-
survey.
Yeah.
We don't want to
Yeah.
focus on one.
Yeah, and I
We have to
get it.
focus townwide, yeah. But that is under review.
In the past, we've talked, not in any formal way, about the discrepancy, and I don't use that in a negative term, between revenue and expense. And it's actually declining this year. How do we feel, we being Terry and Christie, about that relationship? Is this a fee that users should substantially bear, that the town has some, external interest in subsidizing? I'm just curious as to what the thought process is around that.
Periodically, we take a look at all permits and fees.
We've done that.
Pardon?
Didn't we do that?
Yeah,
one?
and we've looked
3
at
years
that,
ago?
and part of it is making certain assumptions about how much time the harbor master spends on moorings, how much time this position spends on providing support to marine resources. Some of these things are shared by all taxpayers, and some can be seen as more user-based. So we do take a look at that periodically. I often hear that we have some of the lowest mooring rates in Casco Bay. So it may be time, again, we often will take suggestions, recommendations from the committee about what fees need to be looked at.
But the last time that we did, about 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Was it how many years ago? Couple?
Yeah.
So there's a-
I think we doubled them or
I can't remember, but there is a fine balance between, when we do our fee review, it's always, every service, we tend to have this statement that there is a greater benefit, not just user-based, and also competitive, not competitive, because you can't just go to another town and get a mooring if you live in Harpswell, but to be reasonable amongst other municipalities. But yes, we have done several large reviews, and we'll have to check on when the next review is due.
And things like buying a boat, buying a motor. Do we want to factor those costs in? Is the boat primarily used to check moorings and to make sure that moorings are in the location they were approved for? So you do have to make some,
Assumptions.
yes. But Terry, I think you were referring to a policy, is that right? We do have a written policy.
Well, we have a fee review policy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's always a discussion. It doesn't say how much is for the greater
Right,
good, but
but-
I mean, like, I think this committee, I want to know that my neighbors, now I'm switching to septic permits, but I mean, has a valid septic and is not discharging into my well line or surface water heading towards my site.
And the town has an interest in the integrity of moorings so that boats don't break away.
Absolutely.
Have spills, crashes, whatever. Now, I'm not suggesting, the number has actually gone down, the delta has gone down this year between revenues and expenses. And I am not suggesting that, based on this discussion, any review that you hadn't already planned take place. Not suggesting that.
Okay.
I just,
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
For clarification. Like if we were saving up for like a new boat or a motor or a new vehicle or something like that, does that go under
Capital.
project capital?
You got it?
Okay, all right, just, thank you.
Yeah.
Just catching up as I'm learning.
You're doing great.
That's what we've all done, don't worry.
I think there's a good there's a good argument, which is not the place here, to put it in here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, it's certainly used within the fee review.
I'll have a much
Right.
better
We take
grasp.
into
No,
account
no,
the
no,
capital.
clearly it is, we're looking at it. It's
Yeah,
not
I-
escaping purview, but if you wanted to just look at the harbor master expenses in some,
Right.
And when we do that permit fee review, we like to pull in some of
You
those
pull it in there.
pieces, yes.
okay. Oh, that's great.
So has everybody had an opportunity to review the November 17th minutes?
Make a motion to accept.
Second? Aye.
So 3-0 in favor. So just a couple miscellaneous things. I did want to, Dave, I think you asked last week, and Select Board Member Gilly asked our student enrollment, and so.
Figured it out?
Well, we all get a lot of mail, right? So I will say,
I'm impressed.
this was,
Terry.
don't be, because
Okay.
this was,
Well, I was
this-
trying to give you credit.
this
You hear
was
the
in a,
answer.
this
Yeah.
was in a mailed, SAD 75, mailed an entire package with their entire budget and student population to every single resident in town last spring. And so this is a copy of that booklet that went to every single resident. So Harpswell has 329 and a half student enrollment. And so when you divide that into our 2025, $10,804,706, it's $32,791 per student.
I had divided that out last spring and sputtered while I did that, but I couldn't recall it.
So I wanted to report back on that question. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
just want to say that
But you
when
looked
you're
all
thinking about.
weekend for that mailing. So
We have it right
took
in our
you
file.
forever.
It's in the clerk's
Trying to
office.
give you some credit.
But do keep in mind that incorporates capital payments
Yes.
for the new
Absolutely.
high school. So don't, I'm just saying it's not just an operational
Yes.
per student cost, it's a facilities as well.
It's everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
A couple of other follow-ups.
Can we meet the half a student?
Yeah, I was, thank you.
There is an explanation, isn't there? I think there's an explanation.
There was
I
an
might have
There is an
qualified as that
explanation
half
in
at
that,
one
why
point.
there was a half a
It's
student.
based on average calendar year.
Yeah, half a year.
Oh, so if you lose a couple
Right.
kids,
Yeah,
type
then
of
then you
thing.
get
Right.
your half.
Yeah,
Right. So-
gotcha. I
Which
was
is
with you
actually
on that one.
4.43, they just rounded it up.
Probably represents some money, so they gotta do it exactly, right?
We're unique, but we don't have half kids.
Yeah. We
So
can't move
handed
the
it-
second decimal place anymore, though, because we don't have pennies.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So on your area, when you sat down this evening, did provide, the last week, I asked the committee to review the 3 libraries and give clear,
Yeah.
concise direction today on what you would like to have from the 3 libraries. I've already asked them for some usage data, and you will see that you have a handout in tonight's loose leaf items from the Oars Island Library, Curtis,
Where did you guys get?
It's in the pile.
So it's in the
And then-
papers.
Okay,
Curtis will be coming to the meeting with that, because this meeting is next week,
okay.
and Cundy's Harbor has been advised. Is there anything other than that, your review, that you are requesting anything further, so that they come prepared and not surprised?
Cundy's Harbor was coming. you said, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I'll just riff for a second. Our own libraries do not have anywhere near the resources that Brunswick has. And so my own expectations with respect to what we hear from Brunswick are significantly higher. I've gone online and I've actually become a modestly poor user of AI. And there are a million metrics that professional libraries use to gauge their effectiveness and their usage intensity. The people who run the library in Brunswick have to be much more familiar than I will be, notwithstanding if I spend the rest of my life online trying to divine that. So I haven't yet decided which 2 or 3 are important to me, but I suspect they are easily in hand in Brunswick, but I will give you those this week, Terry.
Okay.
And they're really about usage intensity, both online usage intensity and in person, i.e. analog book intensity. But again, I think the broad question to them is, please characterize the usage intensity of the Harpswell population with respect to the Brunswick Library.
Okay.
And if they choose, I'll give you those 2 or 3 that I think are meaningful. If they choose to address those, that's fine. If they choose not to because they have better measures that are more easily at hand, then that's fine too.
Okay.
They did submit a lot of information to.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten
Yeah.
through that
Okay,
yet,
okay.
Christie.
Yeah, no,
That's on my agenda
Just
this
wanna
week.
point that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did want to point that out, some other handouts that you, the chair, Linda, asked us for the Kersal Memorial Library voting, so one of your handouts, you'll see the last few years of the voting results. Did hand out, and excuse me, I meant to mention this when we reviewed the conservation measures. I did not have the landings data at the time when this book was prepared, but Darcy obtained that for me today. And so your landing sheet has been updated and provided to each of you. On next week's meeting is where you will have people in person. You will have, at least on the agenda, is cemeteries, the cultural group where the 3 libraries will be attending. And social service agencies. At last week's meeting, this committee said no to anybody, except that I would email you the Sweetser application, and I did so. So I'm looking for your input on whether you need to have Sweetser attend or not.
I'll give you my opinion, which I suspect is nothing more than a regurgitation. So I told Marge to kick me under the table if I go too long with this. But that application contains virtually no information that we would use to decide whether or not this was an appropriate use of Harpswell resources. It merely is a recitation of sort of accounting statistics, so it doesn't even describe what it is that they do in general, nor specifically what they do for the 50 people in Harpswell that they say that they actually render services for. And I would be interested, I mean, I think, as I understand the broad mission, which is mental and behavioral health, it's wonderful. It's underfunded in this country, but I'd like to see more. I'd like to see this person come in and say, here's what we do for outreach in Harpswell to make sure that Harpswell takes advantage of our programs, which are available apparently to a wide swath of the population in our area. So I think it's a good housekeeping kind of thing. Whenever we get a new person, even if it's only the $2,500, it's not so much about the $2,500. It's about the discipline, and it's about us being noticed by them, right? And maybe exerting some kind of, expectation with respect to what they're doing. And if they're doing great things, patting them on the back and saying, thank you very much. So,
I think
So-
there is that fundamental question about, do you want to entertain anything new? So, do you want to spend a lot of time on inviting someone in? I mean, that budget, there's a lot of money in the Sweetser budget they didn't give us a lot of detailed information about how they deal with Harpswell in particular, but they have a lot of funding sources.
it's a
significant
huge
budget.
enterprise.
They mentioned where schools are involved, so I think it's really kind of cloudy, like what they get from other municipalities. So I think those are
Right.
good questions, but I guess overall, do you want to spend a lot of time on this item? Do you want to say you don't want to entertain new items?
And before you make that answer,
Yeah.
can I just say, I've heard this
Okay.
twice. I want to say that each entity has provided much more information than what you have been,
Given by
Oh,
them.
even
Given.
Spencer?
yes.
Oh, okay, I thought.
They provide their 990s, their audited financials, they have all sorts of information.
Okay.
I sent, and we have this book with every one of those applications. Everyone is welcome to see every one of the applications. I don't want that to be a determining factor about not having great detail, because each one of these entities have been asked that same application. So they answered what we asked them to answer.
Okay.
So I need to make that clear, because if you're going to make a decision, it should be based on the same for all the entities, and not that they failed to give us enough information.
Also, the
and I'm-
scale of that entity is quite different from the scale of most of the other entities on our list there. So it's like a slippery
Yeah,
slope.
their annual
in a way.
budget's $50 million or something
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
it's a big
It's
budget.
a monster of a.
Huge, huge.
So I just think it's a good housekeeping item, and whether we spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes on it,
We never
I have less of a sensitivity to the time commitment than perhaps
I do too.
everybody else here.
And
The
again-
only plus side I can see is how many in Harpswell know what they do for services, and
Right.
as we were talking earlier, mental health, and that is, not
Yeah.
something people want to talk about. So even if we talk to them for 10 minutes and somebody 6 weeks from now said, oh, I heard that, and it will help them, then it's worth it. So,
I will invite them. That's what I'm hearing. So I will
Oh,
definitely invite them.
yeah.
So I had made a comment last year, which was not designed to create any action, which is, have we ever looked at this portfolio of givings on a sort of a zero budgeted basis? Matt, meaning, forget everything we do right now, are these the entities that we want to fund? Because they sort of accumulate over years, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what
That was
even good government does.
Yeah,
what I,
And they were there for a lot of good reasons. But every once in a while, I think it's hard to do politically, but it's good to take a look at them and say, do these reflect the priorities of our town and our town's budget? You may find that they do exactly. You may find that there's some that you want to fund more. There are others that maybe the reason that they came in really doesn't exist for our town anymore, and you may want to reduce funding to those. They're all, from what I've seen, all good organizations, so I'm not casting aspersions on them, but it's a question of budget priorities. And so I would throw that out there, that maybe at some point, that some part of that half a person could look at this as a portfolio of, and say, do we have our priorities in a way that's aligned with our town management and our town select board?
when I first came on the board, that was a discussion. Remember the discussion? Whether we should eliminate them all,
Correct.
or we should just start from zero, or what we should do. And everybody obviously has their heart in some place and wants to save. So I think it's a valid discussion.
I agree, but we did have some housekeeping on that. I think there's
We did.
some- yeah,
We did have some housekeeping, and every year we always look at one and go, I don't know, I think it's worth looking at. It's not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money if you start accumulating. But who do you cut,
Yeah.
You either gotta go cut them all, or,
Well, no,
Yeah.
you don't need to. I mean,
no, you don't, you can cherry pick.
in Dave's world, which is this fairyland place, you look at the budget from ground zero and you say, is this where I want to spend my money? Somebody has to make a judgment, right? It's not a right or wrong thing at the end of the day. It's just a judgment about, am I spending my money where I want to and in the most impactful way to benefit the town of Harpswell?
I think last year when we asked the selectmen that, because Select Board Member Covey obviously was attending each of your meetings, and she made mention of that.
Yeah.
And the Select Board is familiar with all the entities, and they had made the decision last year that this is working.
And that may be the outcome. I say this, I think, in this room right now, primarily so that Matt can hear it. Because I think it's an issue that you have to ask regularly.
I think it's a good point. I appreciate you bringing it up.
That's all.
It's something that I hadn't thought of, so.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that it be done this year or anything,
No.
but I want to keep that thought alive, that's all.
Okay.
So thank you for indulging me once again.
The last thing that was available in your packets before you needs to be, and I wrote the account numbers on it, so you can add that to the 6,000-6335, the community fireworks application, which is on with the
Got it, yeah.
category 6,000 at next week's meeting. So the town office is closed Thursday and Friday. I will have off your agenda to you on Wednesday.
Okay.
You're not going to be in here over the weekend, Terry? I don't believe it.
Yeah,
I don't either.
As much as she wants to be,
No, she's not.
Do you all want to officially, do you have anything else, or would you like to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wonderful.